Welcome into Short Box Nation. This is your host, Blythe Brumleve, and I'm also joined alongside Ed and Ashley. And Botter is actually on, he's been put to the curb a little bit. He had a horrible opinion on last week's show during episode 5, and we're here to recap episode 6. So since he had such a trash opinion, we're going to let everybody, do you want to remind everybody what that opinion was, Botter?
No.
Look, do you still stand by John and Danny getting on Drogon and flying off together?
Apparently not. Look, my opinion was so trash last episode. My sister went destroyed me. Not only did she destroy me by text, but when I went to the house on Monday and she pulled up too, she just stared me down. She didn't even talk to me. She just looked at me, and it was like the look of you know why I'm not talking to you. So I just want to apologize to my sister and everyone for that really bad trash ass opinion last episode. I don't stand by it. I learned from my lesson.
It's like the Bart Simpson cake you tried.
But yes, Short Box Nation, welcome to our series finale of this Game of Thrones series that we've been doing for the past 6-7 weeks about. This is our episode 6 reaction. Episode just finished about 10 or 15 minutes ago. We even got a little bit of break time too. No post show. I guess the writers were like, "Look, we don't even want to talk."
Yeah. Well, they did say in an interview a few weeks back. Star Wars now. I think it's what was it, Jimmy Kimmel, and they were saying on the show how they were going to celebrate this series finale, and they were just going to take their wives and they were just going to drive to a nearest hill and drive off a cliff. Not really, but just
wasted. Right now.
They said they were going to have a couple drinks.
Yeah.
And just ignore social media, and I don't blame them because they're probably going to get roasted either way.
Oh yeah, but I want to.
Some embassy in England with the Julian Assange's place is open, so they're crashing there,
seeking asylum.
I do want to remind our new listeners joining us for the first time that you can subscribe to the show to stay up to date for our latest content, as well as hit us up on Patreon.com for our bonus content and interviews as well. So let's go and jump into this episode. I want to go and start off like we've been kind of doing these past couple of episodes, go around the proverbial table and kind of get everyone's immediate thoughts. So how are you guys feeling in a couple of words? Did it live up to your expectations and the hype that it kind of carried with it? Ashley, how about you kick us off?
So I feel strangely mellow right now.
Yeah.
It had such a peaceful ending. I just feel real calm right now, and I didn't think I would.
That's good.
I would echo that.
Okay.
Weirdly calm and just bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Ed, what about you?
I'm feeling kind of deflated.
Ed, I'm in the same boat as you. Okay, good. So it'll be girls versus boys on this one. I feel slightly cheated. I'm not gonna lie. I feel deflated is probably a better word. Cheated is probably pretty strong, especially because I can't tell you what I wanted. I know I just wanted something different. And I don't know if it's my job to tell you what I wanted, but I'll go deflated. And I don't know if it lived up to the hypes, the expectations I guess I had on it. Which I don't know if I don't know if it could have lived up to it because
exactly.
I was trying to explain to Blythe what I wanted, but I couldn't tell you.
Because we almost got in an argument. After the finale was done, I was like, "Well, what did you want?" Of course it's going to be sad. You're leaving a world and a show that you love and that you become sort of obsessed with, and that you wait for a bated breath for the next episode and a hint of what's to come, and it's over. And you have to join sort of every other fandom when they say you start it all over again. That's what you have to do as a fan.
I also had to catch myself.
Arya Adventures.
Yeah, that'd be a sick spinoff. That would be such a badass spinoff. Arya, she'd be it's like the R-rated Dora the Explorer. It's and I had to catch myself because I almost wanted to say, well, I wanted to see more betrayal, more death, and I was like, man, what the fuck has this show made me? Ashley, did it live up?
Chit chat.
Yeah, Ashley, did it live up to you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird right now. I feel like I just asked someone, I'm like, hey, I really want dessert. Go get me something. And they brought me back a vanilla ice cream cone. And it's okay. It's technically dessert, but it's not really what I wanted. But I don't know what I wanted. But I'll
like
eat
a
it.
plain donut. Plain cake.
Yeah.
Good.
No icing on it.
But
Just it's
icing and
delicious.
chocolate on that.
Ashley,
But put
you got to do
something on
more.
it.
You got to do more analogies on the show. That was wow. That's well said. So how about we start off with the positive? All right, what did we like about this episode? Blythe, how about you kick us off? What were some of the key things that you really liked about it?
Oh gosh, I really loved the sort of hinted at standoff between Grey Worm and Jon Snow. And I don't know what Grey Worm is.
They did something. That would have been great.
Yeah, I thought
fought
when they were
or
grabbing
something?
each other, I was like,
Definitely.
oh, they're definitely going like fighting it out later on in the episode. And even when
Nah.
Grey Worm is giving him that look while he at the end of the episode when he's staring at him, I still thought that they were still going to throw down.
Okay.
So
It would
I
have been
did
great
like
if there was
that.
like a fight scene in the show.
It was definitely missing some conflict, man. But I'll go into that.
Y'all are just spoiled from like the past few episodes. Like just you
Well,
know,
you chose one hell of an episode to wait to not spoil us anymore. Like, great job, Mom. Like, yeah, you did it when it mattered the most. So Ed, maybe you could. No, I said we'll keep it positive. So let me reel back. Okay, Ashley, what were some elements that you really liked about it? And it doesn't have to be a particular
so-
scene.
Well, I like when characters come together. So I like the council. I like seeing Edmure Tully again because I sort of forgot that he was
Yeah.
around.
Did you see
And
the?
seeing
Oh, yeah.
seeing Rob and Aaron again. So
Yeah.
I like that they gave me little glimpses of
Season
all
one.
these characters.
Yeah,
Okay.
the small council meeting I thought was it because it sort of just shows what the realm really is.
Mhm. What was the name of the kid from the Vale again?
Rob and Aaron.
Oh yeah, he cleaned up really well. I mean, he was like a little.
Yeah,
He was like a little titty sucking spaz, like those early
yeah, you
episodes.
feel old milk lips. That's what I'm pretty
That's a great alternate title for this episode, Milk Lips. That's a good one. I'll chime in and say that was probably an element of the episode I liked, and not just that particular scene, but more so, I do see the logic, I guess, in picking Bran as the new ruler. I really liked Tyrion's speeches this episode. I think they brought him back to having like those speeches that kind of pull you in, and there's a sense like if I remove my emotions about the overall episode, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a pretty dope way of picking a ruler. I know some of my more favorite theories I was hearing prior to this season starting was. They would get rid of the Iron Throne and kind of establish, independent kingdoms. So this was kind of cool to see them somewhat do that in a way where they gave the North an independent kingdom, and they're kind of implying like, hey, this is the best route, so everyone kind of has their own thing. So
Kind of a democracy.
yeah. Even though they laughed at damn Samuel
Oh,
Benjamin.
poor Sam.
Yeah, Samuel Benjamin Franklin
boy.
Tarley. Ed, what about you, man? What was a positive element that you really enjoyed?
I really liked the scenes with Tyrion and Jon Snow when he visits him when he visits him and when he's being held prisoner, and I really liked Dany's speech at the top of the stairs.
Oh, that was really good.
And where did all these people come from?
What people?
Does she have more Unsullied in Dothraki?
yeah.
It did definitely look like more, especially Dothraki.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought there was
where
only
did all
like
these guys
7
come
of those
from?
left.
But
Oh man.
that was just a cool visual of all the Dothraki, pounding the spears into the ground when she's talking.
Yeah.
That's really. But yeah, those two are probably the standouts for me.
Okay. I really they had some really good shots. Like as far as just like cinematography wise, they had like some pretty the Tyrion scene where he's kind of trying to dig up the remains of Jaime and Cersei. I thought that scene was well shot.
Danny too with with Drogon's wings behind her.
that was
That
pretty
was really
epic.
good.
Yeah.
That was pretty epic. Even
Did you
though
think they were going to pop up from the rubble? Like, oh, hey,
Yes! Thought they were going to surprise us. I almost covered my ears.
bro.
the baby's safe too. Oh
Like
man.
30 minutes of him just digging them out, just the cameras on him,
They
moving brick by brick.
they really like to emphasize like Tyrion doing really like mundane things like digging rocks or digging bricks or moving chairs. I'm like, man, they really like to put him in these awkward positions where he's just doing
Just
something.
onto the hole.
Okay. What about some things that I'm not going to say disliked or hated, but we just didn't feel, or we felt maybe required a little better improvement. Ed, how about you kick us off? What were some of the elements that you were just not feeling?
I would have asked for a better name than Brand the Broken. You call me something else. About Brand the cool psychic boy or something.
Cool psychic boy.
Guys.
I thought he went by Brand the Builder or something, or was that a prior name?
It was his ancestors were Brand the Builder.
Yeah, give me that. Give me that.
But there is a lot of symbolism between those two characters.
Brand the Broken. All right, what else?
Hell, Brand the Broken.
Ed, was there anything else?
Imposing name.
Other than a bad name?
Off the top, no, it's a lot of just the overall, just the pacing of the show, but it's, that's, yeah.
And I'll probably chime in about the pacing. It really surprised me that in what felt like the first 10, 15 minutes that Danny got killed. And then the rest was kind of like, okay, here's the wrap up. And it was almost like too cookie cutter for me because it was like, oh, okay, every scene is, I don't know, it's just, I wanted, I guess, the conflict to kind of span out a little more. I mean, I understand that we've got a lot of
Lord of the Rings, the Return of the King, where it's just like a 2-hour epilogue. It was like,
yes.
Okay, that's what it felt like, an hour's worth of. Okay, that's good. Of epilogue. It was like, man, okay, I get it, but I guess I really wanted to see the remorse felt and just the what happens next after Danny does what she does in the last episode. I just felt like she just kind of. I know that this sounds pretty blasphemous, but it almost sounded like she kind of got away with it, like too easy, like a quick death, a clean death, sadly by her, lover. But I don't know, man. I wanted to see how did Sansa feel about it? Was Arya how did she really feel about it? I wanted to see more of its impact of it was just such a crazy moment last episode that Danny completely switches. And then she gets her just dues in the first 10 minutes. It's like I felt kind of. That's I guess where I felt kind of robbed.
I mean, if they extend it, I mean, you're already kind of on the edge of your seat for episodes 3, 4, and 5, and then for this episode, we all kind of knew that it was going to be wrapped up. I always want more chances to go into sort of a fantasy world like Lord of the Rings, like Game of Thrones. Every chance I can get, I want those opportunities. I just don't know that you can ever wrap it up to where everybody is completely satisfied and they're ready to say goodbye. I just don't think that exists.
And I see what they were trying to do with the whole misleading us into thinking that John was still, because for a minute they had me thinking why is John acting so stupid this episode? He's still defending Danny.
He was in denial
after
for
all
a lot
of this.
Of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are you going? Why did John have to go to Tyrion? He clearly wasn't going there to, at least what it seemed like, to get.
I thought he was going to kill him.
I thought he was going to kill him or try to free him. But he even says I wasn't here to. I was here to say goodbye, and it's like, well, what's the point other than just kind of driving the story that you're going to end up killing her?
Because he probably wanted to talk to somebody about it. I didn't get that impression that he was going to kill him. I just thought that he just witnessed, the quote unquote love of his life murdering innocents by the thousands, and he wanted to talk to somebody else who was just as disgusted as he was, because Grey Worm certainly wasn't.
Yeah, Grey Worm was
He got around quick too,
dude. Oh my god, this is why I love Ed. Ed, I wrote the same thing. I was like, yo, how did...
He's killing... He had 5 or 6 guys that their throats to cut, and he's back at the stairs waiting. Did John took the long route to the... Where was he going?
He needed some time to brood.
And where did they get that big-ass Targaryen banner from?
I was saying that too. I was like,
they
brought
Kinko's.
it.
Is there a Kinko's that they didn't burn down?
I think it was from one of the ships. That's what it looked like to me. Because I thought the same thing. It looked like one of the ship masts.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And Danny's death was actually 40 minutes into the episode.
Really?
See,
damn,
you said 10 minutes.
No way it's 40 minutes in.
It was. So it
wrote
must have been so
made a note.
Wow.
Fast-paced in the beginning, and then the last half was real slow because, she died almost halfway through.
They really dragged that last half out then. Holy, are you kidding me?
See, but you wanted more of it.
Yeah, I still wanted more. But damn, wow. Thanks.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes. I made a note of that too.
Damn, they really dragged that last part out.
Do you think that Drogon ate Daenerys later?
I was almost tempted to ask if Drogon was taking Dany to do like a reverse. You know how like she brought them into life by fire. If Drogon was going to bring her back into life by fire, but that would have been another trash opinion I shouldn't have shared right at the moment.
Basically, just end up burning her to a crisp. Like,
yeah, but
did she still not burn? I guess.
I don't.
Maybe she don't. Maybe just ate her.
Because you can't eat her if you can't cook her.
Damn.
A dragon can eat her. A dragon doesn't need cooked food.
No, they made a big deal about it. They only eat cooked food.
No, this is a little.
They didn't eat all those sheep and goats and stuff. Were they cooked?
Yeah, they cooked them.
This has become the Dragon Podcast. How to Train Your Dragon Podcast.
I don't remember that scene.
Why did Bran hint that he was gonna ride Drogon? I was like, why? We're not gonna. Oh man.
No, I think he said he was going to warg into him or
He
just
said,
see
"I'll
where he
warg
was
into
going.
him."
I'll try. Is that what you're doing like this whole time as king?
I'll try.
We're out. The small council meeting is meeting about important matters, and your ass is gonna go play video games, medieval video games.
Roll me out of here.
You did.
Yeah.
Blythe, did you have any scenes or any elements of this episode that you wish they would have done better, or any critiques?
The skit.
What's up?
Gosh. I would say probably Dany's death. Like I feel like I should have been more sad about it, but I think after last episode, I probably wasn't sad about it. Just because I was just so disappointed in her, and I knew I was like, oh, well, that bitch got to die. And then she dies, and it's like, okay, well, that's sad. What's next?
Yeah.
It just felt uneventful, I guess.
Yeah.
Cersei and Jaime's death felt
Way
a lot
more
of people,
eventful than that. Compared to that, hell yeah.
And a lot of people criticized that death for not being eventful enough. But this one felt much less significant. But I think maybe it felt less significant because it had to be done. I don't know.
Yeah, they kind of forced the story into that solution. Yeah.
What about you, Ashley? Any critiques you want to share?
I was kind of unimpressed with Bran when he first, became king, because everybody's sorting things out and looking for a leader, and he's like, I'm gonna go find this dragon. And it just seemed random. Like, he just came to the table, and I was like, all right, you guys got it.
That whole thing seemed kind of like a skit, like them kind of messing with the chairs, and then just goofy.
Huh.
Arguing
and
about
then everyone
brothels and
arguing,
stuff.
like, Bronn, I don't like you anymore, stop talking.
But
and then he better be warging into the ravens, because you can't if he warged the dragon and we didn't get to see it, I'd be so mad.
That's what I'm asking. Like, why did he bring that up? Like, they've done this a couple times throughout the season, is bring shit up and then not address it. Or to like get they just bring it up and it's like, wait, what? That's you could have done without that. Just like the Euron shit last episode. We didn't really need to see Euron fight because he had no impact to Jaime's death. So yeah,
that's fair.
Something. All right. So another positive I do want to give is I did like Jon Snow questioning. Was it what I did, was it right? Like, was killing Dany right? Like, I kind of like that he had that, just that doubt, because I don't know. I might definitely be looking too deep into it, but I felt like a lot of this episode was kind of like a mirror on the audience. I think after the last episode, everyone, like you were thinking, oh, Dany's got to die, and now it's like, well, was it the right thing to do? Clearly,
well, right before he killed her too, like, she looks very happy and she looks very convinced that it's her destiny to save the world and to free the world, and it's almost delusion at that point. And so I think that he still wants to believe it until he just makes that decision.
And when she's walking up to the throne and she has the crazy eyes, she touches it. She's gone.
I'll also.
She mentioned she couldn't count to 20
as a kid
a couple times, so she has some kind of learning disorder.
She said
that twice.
Tyrion's speech to Jon in that scene, or in the jail cell, was really good. I did like him talking. Once again, like, I felt like the writers or the show was kind of talking about the fans. We've built up Dany this whole time, like we've cheered her on every time that she's freed a city or done badass things with her dragons, and we've cheered her on Dracarys and all this stuff. So it's like, well, look at the monster you've all kind of made. I did like his that was a good speech.
Mm-hmm. You could justify her actions, I think, a lot of the other times, but when you combine them all together, it's a period of habitual obviously bad behavior, that she is not going to stop at King's Landing, and there has to be something that's done.
Big ups to
Sansa.
Sansa.
Even she said that in the speech. Like, we're not done yet. You know, we're going to keep fighting till.
Yeah.
You know, and basically, this is the way I see the world, how it's supposed to be. So they were going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and never stop.
That part was almost comical to me. It was almost like ham-fisted, almost like that she was like becoming like a just a mad woman, or talking about world domination. It felt like a skit about world domination. Like, next up is the world, John, and it's like, wow, man, I don't know. Her character's a little weird on this.
I think that she's always wanted to do that. She could have stayed as Queen and Marine and done exactly what she wanted to do, and lived a life with somebody that loved her, and done everything that she said is the ultimate goal. But that was never enough for her. And once and even last episode, when the city has surrendered, it's still not enough for her. The bells are ringing, and she wants more. And she gets King's Landing, and she still wants more.
That's a good point. Okay. How about we go down? Let's do a scene by scene breakdown, and then, like I said, if your favorite scene comes up, go and let me know, and then we'll take some more time on that one. So, so this whole episode. Wait, let me make sure I got it on the right. No, my bad. Wrong page. Oh, we actually took more notes than I thought. Okay, so the episode opens up with kind of King's Landing struggling. We get to see Tyrion as well as Jon Snow and that army walking through King's Landing. A hell of a scene watching a, burning man walking, just complete kind of burnt zombie walking by Tyrion. I think off the bat we get, that initial just kind of punch to the gut, like, this is like the true devastation right here. And like that one single image, because I don't think we saw a lot of burnt bodies, but I think that one single image kind of, to me, like kind of showcased like, okay, this is the true devastation.
Of the little girl holding the toy.
Yeah.
That was the same mom and daughter that got burned last weekend that Arya was running around with.
And how crazy
that Arya helped, quote unquote.
quote unquote.
We gotta get away. Oh no, we're dead. Thanks, Arya.
Oh no.
When we were watching rewatching when we were rewatching the episode of last week's episode, I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder if it would have been safer just chilling there. Looking back. Did anyone think that was snow? Because I wasn't sure if that was snow or ashes or what.
I think it was ash at first, and then because winter, the season, the long winter is coming. So I think it was like a subtle transformation from ash to snowfall.
It was like a weird, ominous, like inverted version of like Winterfell, because Winterfell kind of it just kind of got like this weird kind of like that snowfall is like really soft and whatnot, but this one was just like, damn, that ain't snow.
Was it hiding Drogon too?
Shit, what talk about the master of hide and seek? They hit a fucking dragon in front of us. Epic. So kind of going through, so we get to see Tyrion and such walking through the city. It changes up to Jon Snow walking through the city. We get to see Grey Worm giving kill orders by the name of Dany, which I was along the same in the same boat as Blythe, that I thought we were going to get a Jon Snow and Grey Worm showdown. I mean, they really kind of held that scene where he's holding his arm for a good bit.
And
that would have been nice.
That actor said before the season started that his death was going to be unsettling, and I'm waiting all season for it.
When you share that, I was wondering like why he would spoil that. I thought that I was figuring out. I was trying to figure if that.
I thought for sure he would be a white, and then I thought for sure him and John were going to fight at this battle. And I'm like, oh hell, what? Thanks.
Him and John or him or Arya, that would have been an awesome fight.
Cool. Hell yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I feel like we just needed one.
Maybe he died on the boat. Maybe he got like sick on the boat.
Off screen?
Off camera.
Okay, I wouldn't be too far-fetched. So we also get to see Tyrion make his way to the bottom of what was it, the Red Keep, to check on Jaime and Cersei, and I really thought they might have given him like a sense of like, okay, maybe they made it, especially when he stares up at the what looked like the tunnel ceiling. There's that beam of light. I was thinking like, I wonder if they're going to give him
not as caved in as it thought it would be.
Yeah, but proven wrong. Holy shit! Oh, my bad. Tyrion ends up finding Jaime's hand, and of course we get that really sad moment watching Tyrion cry. I don't think we've seen Tyrion cry too much throughout the series. I think the only other time I could think of is when he ends up killing
Shay.
Shay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that was the only time too.
Did he cry the last episode with Jamie?
Oh, true, he did.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, he cries a lot.
Yeah, just the last episode.
There were so many areas. Did you guys notice how many areas had no bricks on the floor?
Oh, damn, no.
I was like, are they gone for sure? Like, I really thought that they, until
Yeah,
he
that's what I was
found
like,
them,
oh.
I was like, oh, they made it.
No, there's just a lot of bricks piled
So,
on them.
and it is a little irritating because that prophecy from way back in the day from when Cersei was a little girl, everything came true except for she would be killed by her brother.
She was. He brought her down there.
Yeah.
Technically.
He brought her down there?
Well, I mean, Tyrion brought
So
Dany.
technically, you're going to say that was...
Technically. That's
I guess.
technically.
Well, it would make me sleep better tonight.
I'm glad to help out.
I never.
But yeah,
All right,
technically,
yeah, I'll
you
take
did
it. I'll take it.
I never really understood that whole the Maggie the Frog theory because she also said, oh, you will have three kids and shrouds and they're all gonna die pretty much. But she did have two other kids. Like she was pregnant with a fourth one, and then she had another one that died at childbirth with Robert. So I never really understood that whole Valonqar theory. Maybe it's just the show version of it.
Yeah. I don't remember. In the books, it was 3 golden-haired children, so maybe the other ones had brown hair. I don't know.
So the next scene is we see Arya watching Jon walk to Dany. So that's also the same scene that where Dany's giving her epic speech to the Unsullied and Dothraki army. I did make a note that her army looked really menacing. I mean, between the banner kind of flying high, that dark red kind of contrasting, kind of giving you kind of maybe symbolizing like the amount of blood she said, but just the amount of Unsullied she had, it just seemed really, really like damn, like these guys are not here to play. This is not like a new happy regime. This is kind of dark, and of course that's the same scene where we get that kind of shot, or we get the shot with Dany and Drogon's wings in the back, followed by her
cool
speech.
shot.
Yeah. Dany's hair was looking mad pristine, so I can only assume,
Yeah.
and her suit, so I can only assume that.
Does Grey Worm doing her hair now?
No. I think that she burned down, King's Landing, and then went for a costume change. Like she's like Beyonce in the second half of her show.
Maybe that was one of her first acts as queen, is to open up a salon.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so Tyrion, this is also the scene where Tyrion walks up on her. You said on something, open a salon. Sorry. But this is also the scene where Tyrion walks up to Dany and ends up throwing away his hand of the kingpin. I knew he was in trouble because the Unsullied looked concerned.
They stopped their little their little chance.
Oh my god.
So I knew that was going to be trouble, and of course she asked for him to be taken away. The next scene, we get Jon visiting Tyrion in his cell. I was,
Oh, but do you notice? Sorry to jump back,
come on.
but when she walks away, she's doesn't even look at Jon.
Yeah,
she just walks out of the way. So that was
she's
kind
I
of.
swear to God, if you say anything right,
I thought for sure she was
Cold
going to kill
shoulder.
Tyrion right then and there.
Me too. I
thought
thought
he
she was going to
dead.
get
Yeah.
Grey Worm, because Grey Worm is just apparently looking for any excuse to slit throats.
Yeah, he's,
That dude is someone get him to Noth ASAP. I was a little confused that Jon was still defending Tyrion, because I thought it said a lot that, well, at this point it made complete sense, but that Tyrion was, finally on the other side where he's like, no, man, she's fucked up. I betrayed my best friend, and now I'm about to get the same fate as him, and you can't even see that yet. It was kind of cool to see Tyrion have to be the last voice of reason when he should have been the voice of reason the whole time.
I think Jon has been in denial for a few episodes now, but I did really like their scenes together, especially when Tyrion is trying to talk him into becoming king or doing the right thing, and I loved those couple quotes when it was sort of a callback on Aemon Targaryen when he said, what was it, the love is the death of duty?
And then Tyrion flipped it with the remix.
duty is
Yeah.
the death of love.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a
It was
minute.
really good.
Wait a minute, you just said the same thing backwards, you asshole.
You got me. You got me, Tyrion.
I thought it was
Well
kind of
played,
crazy that Tyrion basically asked for a hit,
Yeah.
Like he kind of channeled that inner Lannister to just kind of get things done.
And you got to do it quick because that's really your only opportunity.
Yeah.
What do we got here? And I was thinking about how that conversation, like once again, maybe going too deep, but Tyrion's kind of conversation kind of reminded me, like, you know what? This has always kind of been Game of Thrones thing where you think one thing about a character, or you think you know how they're going to act, or you kind of attach like words like good guy or bad guy to a character, and it's not the case ever. 99% of the time they're usually in the gray area. But and that applies to Dany. Like Dany's not safe. Like she's never been the good character. Me and Blythe were talking about how we kind of aren't too surprised that she would burn down a whole city, considering what she's done to the previous cities that she's liberated. Like she's definitely has blood on her hands, but we've always been on her side because she's freeing slaves, and they painted her in that sense. And the bad guys were always slave masters.
There's a way to justify
They're like
it.
more well defined, like black and white bad guys. Like what Tyrion was saying. These were evil men. These were evil men.
Until it started chipping away at is the some of the crucifying all of the masters, sacrificing a couple of the nobles, murdering the Tarleys, and these decisions that she makes over time. But arguably, she held restraint that Tyrion had asked her to show this whole time. And when he throws his hand of the queen badge to the ground, she shows restraint right then and there. And that was like, it's like, well, it's about goddamn time. Like that was the first time that she showed restraint in a while.
Well, I mean, really interesting choice to show restraint.
I just thought for sure he was everything that we've seen her do, especially after the last episode. Thought he was dead right on the spot, and he would be murdered in front of everyone.
Especially doing that in front of her army, like all her, that is like a big FU.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been a Dracarys right there.
Yeah. I thought I heard one of the Unsullied say, "Oh shit!" Like, so the next.
I think I saw one of them grab the pen and like put it in his pocket.
So the next scene we get is Jon, of course, walking to Dany. That's when we get Drogon playing hide and seek. Camo Drogon is what I'm gonna start referring to him as. So here's my question: is where the hell were I guess when you got Drogon, it's like, well, I guess I don't need any bodyguards. But I was like, yo, Dany has never been anywhere without bodyguards, against her will. So it's like I say, it was almost like too perfectly set up where it's like, of course Grey Worm isn't here to defend Dany. I probably would have been more okay with Dany, her whole death scene, if Grey Worm was there and we got the Jon Snow
Did he ever get his sword back from the Unsullied? Because he gave his sword to
No, he did. He did? Because he ends up picking it up. Yeah.
Because he killed Dany with the sai, not the sword.
Yeah. But of course,
I think I saw it in like his belt, like the scabbard with the wolf head. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong.
So what did we think about Dany's speech and just kind of finally, watching Dany finally get everything? Well, not barely, get everything that she's always wanted. I mean, we've been on the same journey with her ever since episode 1, season 1. I mean, it's always been apparent that this was going to be one of the bigger parts of the Game of Thrones story. I mean, any thoughts on seeing Dany even get a chance to touch the Iron Throne?
I didn't think that she was going to get to touch it.
She just touched it, right? She didn't sit in it?
Yeah, she never sat on it.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
Sam was in the back. Well, technically, she did not sit down.
That's why he's my favorite character.
So here's my other comment about Jon killing Dany and being so hesitant about it. Like, he's betrayed loved ones for duty, in the name of duty. I mean, help me out
Ygritte.
Here. Ygritte. He betrays Ygritte because of the Night's Watch, because of his pledge. So we know that, like, they've established that Jon is a character of his word and of the bigger picture. And I guess I just also don't buy their chemistry's never been like my favorite. I think there's so for me it's like, well, you already are hesitant about it because she's your aunt, she's your aunt. You've betrayed for the Night's Watch of all fucking organizations. So you're telling me that
he didn't betray them.
I'm sorry. You betrayed for the Night's Watch,
and he did it. He was actually trying to do it for the Night's Watch, and he just happened to fall in love with the wildling.
Yeah. So I don't know. For me, like I said, her death just, I was like, oh, okay, she's dead. It wasn't like
it kind of like really
compared to some
that romance, because that didn't happen till the end of the last season, right? The last episode.
Right, the very last. That was like the closing scene. I think was like Tyrion creepily watching them.
Yeah, Tyrion's like, ooh.
Especially compared to some of the other oh shit moments in the season. Like I didn't have at least an oh shit moment this whole episode, and it's like I guess I wanted one of those.
You didn't say oh shit when Dany died?
I was kind of like, oh, you kind of.
But I think that kind of speaks to what we said earlier, that it's going back to the last episodes, hinting to it that she was really crazy, and it's just expected, like she's got to die. She gotta go.
Did anyone think that Drogon was going to roast Jon Snow? Or Grey Worm was going to come in, of course, like, hey, I got the coffee you wanted. That's
Starbucks cup.
Did anyone think, Ashley, did you think Jon was going to get it from Drogon?
So since Jon's Targaryen, I thought that Drogon was going to flame him up and he was going to be fine.
I didn't think that.
But that didn't happen.
He's half dark, so would he just get like burnt a little bit?
Just half of
it. He completely fireproof. Just his hair off.
But yeah, so the Iron Throne part was really cool. I don't know, like the whole scene was like, because he did it for his family, you know what I mean? So I think that, above sometimes, duty and honor, it's his sisters that he was thinking of and trying to protect.
Love.
She's family too, right?
I think that would have been a huge upset had Drogon killed Jon. I could hear the fucking internet from here if that happened.
Oh my god!
So yeah. They did have me thinking for a minute. But I did think that it was a little too on the nose when Drogon ends up burning the Iron Throne. I was like, what does he got against the Iron Throne? You're saying he'd burn the Iron Throne.
Really long too.
Yeah, it was.
Like it seemed like
Like it was, like I said, they were like trying to shut, like, yo, no more Iron Thrones, and I was like, all right.
Because I guess it was her ancestor created it, and it was kind of a cool shot too when he like sort of like, well, it's not really this a cool shot, but when he nudges her a little bit and she's like, she's really actually dead.
I was like, damn, they really got me thinking this big ass dragon is a
that
dog.
was sad. But then he picks her up and they fly off. That was a cool shot.
Yeah.
And then the Iron Throne is just like melting right in front of Jon. That was probably my favorite shot.
Yeah, it's just a little too much melting. It's like, all right, we get it. Done.
I ain't gonna lie, a part of me was like, damn, it's really taking you a long time, Drogon.
Yeah, he's like blowing fire for seems like 5 minutes straight.
Well, that's probably because he just wasted all his fire on the damn city.
His throat hurts. Give him a break.
Give that man a Rico life. All right, next scene, we get this really abrupt flash forward. Like, I guess a couple weeks have transpired before the next scene occurs. And it almost felt a little.
Would have been cool to have a Grey Worm Jon fight scene when they capture him.
Ed,
neat.
Ed, I see this is going to be a common theme.
Really wanted them to fight.
Can we get a worm? Can we get a Wormbowl? Come on, we got to click Wormbowl.
Wormbowl.
Well, you had the horns.
So it opens up with Grey Worm escorting Tyrion to what appears to be what do they call it? Like a great, not a great council meeting, but
it is actually a great council meeting because I was watching a couple YouTube videos, but they said they've only had a few of them ever in like Westerosi history.
Okay. So we open up a great council meeting. Of course, we get a lot of characters that we haven't seen in a hot minute make some appearances, as well as we finally get to see Sansa again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey.
And apparently Grey Worm is the leader of the Unsullied, so that would make him, I guess, whatever, the leader of King's Landing or the representative.
He was like the commander at arms.
The Master of War is what Dany.
Or Master, yeah. So I guess he gets promoted to, he's next in line.
So we're also left with, that's when we learn that Jon is a prisoner. Grey Worm is not having his release whatsoever. He wants revenge. I thought what he said was pretty badass. What he said, we don't want payment, we want justice. I was like, oh damn, Grey Worm.
Yeah.
He's not playing around.
No, he is not.
No.
And he actually embraces his name, by the way. When Sir Davos,
Turgo?
yeah, Turgo. When Sir Davos asked him like, Turgo, isn't it? And he doesn't correct him like he's kind of done prior, where he's Grey Worm, you know. So I thought that was kind of a cool little transformation. But let me ask you, why did we let Tyrion like make the decision? I thought that was kind of. I was like, wait, Tyrion is your prisoner. So we're letting him make the decision?
No, he's this unsullied prisoner. He's not anybody else's prisoner.
But the fact that the Grey Worm, first of all, would let him, I was like, what the fuck is like the prisoner is making that?
Well, Sansa said at the beginning that it was supposed to be Jon and Tyrion that were supposed to come to the meeting, but they kept Jon back in the I guess the cell.
Well,
and
I was kind of thinking maybe Tyrion's position still stood, where he would be the the representative for King's Landing or Dany's army. Because, I mean, if Sansa is saying, Jon and Tyrion are supposed to show up, maybe
well, he's still technically Lord of Casterly Rock. I mean, he's a Lannister, so it's a gathering of all the lords and ladies and the most influential, and I think the majority of the people there really respect Tyrion's opinion.
And I think after Sam's like dumbass, let everybody vote, I think everyone's like, let's let this guy talk now.
Hey, look, that's kind of what we have going on here.
Democracy.
Easy with
just
that.
my dog gets a vote?
Take it easy there.
All right, well, I mean, let's not completely shit on Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah.
Right? I thought I was.
I support Sam.
But I'm kind of glad they didn't go with Sam's plan, only because then I would have been like, wait, this whole show is about democracy? What?
It's a little too
fuck
kumbaya.
out of here.
Yeah.
This is America's
And
story?
they kind of laughed at that. They laughed at that notion.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We're not giving up this power.
Game of
Then
Thrones?
also we pull out the American flag and he's like,
How fucking how opportune would that have been if Sam's like, I also knitted a unified banner, and it's like the American flag and the eagle.
Smells like freedom.
Love it or leave it, losers.
Oh man, I did kept thinking about Varys's words about power is where men put it. It was kind of cool to see that come. A lot of what Varys was saying last episode kind of comes into fruition. As far as his thoughts about Dany not being savable, and just also like the whole concept of rule and power. I thought it was kind of cool to see level-headed individuals kind of work through that. And that's what made me like Tyrion's kind of reasoning for Bran. And as much as it threw me the fuck off that weird Bran who we've been shitting on this whole season as just creepy Bran, comes out as a winner. I feel like he is like every neckbeard in the world is like rooting. Like, yes, we got a chance.
And he knew this. He had to have known this the whole time. As soon as he became the Three-Eyed Raven.
He said that.
Yeah,
did he say something like that?
Yeah, he's like, why do you think I came?
Oh,
yeah,
he does.
Yeah.
He does.
I would have looked at him like, you motherfucker, you could have told us this. Like, you
Little hints or something.
You know how many people have to die for us to get to the solution?
Yeah. Like, are you fucking for real?
Well, did you see the glow up though? He got the new wheelchair. He got the new
Man, that
outfit.
wheelchair.
He got a little tan and a haircut.
They always look. And they kind of put Bran in this position to be like a King Solomon almost. Like, he's very
comparison.
he's like very just, very very knowledgeable, kind of unbiased. So it was that scene. I'm still a little conflicted about it, but I kind of like see it. I'm like, okay, well, I can kind of see it, but I guess Bran is the most reasonable, but he's not a good ruler. He's not a good king. He doesn't really inspire. He just makes sense why they would choose him. Tyrion
It's probably like a figurehead, kind of
yes,
like the monarchy in England, like the Queen of England. He's more of like a figurehead, an advisor, than an actual, ruler per se.
He's basically that kid from the Vale. He's basically just a kid from the Vale. He's just a fucking figurehead. He's gonna go play video games, and the adults.
Wow, that's a no. I don't agree with that at all. How dare you besmirch his name?
Actually, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, damn, Bran just is not inspiring. It's just like, okay, cool.
But he's the most logical at this point. Like, they're not going to give it to Jon. I know everybody wants Jon to have it, but at this point, like, it's just going to go to Bran. He's always been compared to his ancestor, Bran the Builder, and now he's going to have to literally and figuratively rebuild in every part of King's Landing and Westeros from a political standpoint and the actual, like, buildings themselves. So he's going to be in the next coming, I guess.
But I guess
how can he give like an inspirational speech in like that just deadpan voice?
that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying is sometimes logic doesn't make for good TV.
Maybe
it doesn't.
That's what
But
Tyrion's for. He's the mouthpiece.
Yeah, but Robert Baratheon, he could give a great speech, but he was a shitty ruler.
But you still would ride with him. You'd be like, yeah,
but that's not. He put the no.
He's the everydays man.
Yeah,
but he's like, why pick Bran if Tyrion, Bronn, Samwell, and the rest of them
because
are going
Bran
to be
is all
better.
knowing. Like he knows the entire history. He knows all the stories.
I just don't. The one scene they had a chance to like really get me to like get behind Bran, they kind of dropped the ball. He came in and he just bounced, and it was like, okay, well, I guess Tyrion could have just been king the whole time. But it kind of might go back to Ed's point where it's like, well, it's just a fucking figurehead.
Yeah, I mean, it is a small council meeting. They had the great council meeting, so it's not like it's just one person making all the rules anymore.
Real quick,
it's sort of kind of like a democracy.
If Game of Thrones was symbolism for America, then Sansa is fucking Texas because
she's Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
True.
Or
Canada.
Yeah, Canada.
I think more Texas because Winterfell's not to be fucked with, or Northern men. I mean, they're some tough ass people.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I think
all
Texas because she told them straight. I like that a lot. That they didn't get Sansa to be in this cookie cutter thing where she was like, you know what? No, hold up. Northern men have already sacrificed too much to have been there. I thought that was a cool.
I thought for sure that if Bran was going to be king, then she would just follow along with it and be perfectly fine with it. But for her to stand up in that moment, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. The next scene. Oh, go ahead.
What's going to happen? I'm going to rule the North. We're going to be independent. Eat it.
That's essentially what she said.
Edmure Tully, he was like the most inept person at that council meeting, just standing up and being like, "So I'm just going to throw this out there." But
it took me a second. I was like, "Who the fuck is this guy?"
Screwed up everything. Every scene he was in.
Stan's is like, sit down. Just sit down.
So the next scene is John. Well, it's really I think the last scene, the closing, the wrap up scene. But it opens up with John or Tyrion visiting John in the jail cell. It's giving him the news that hey, you're back to square one, buddy. Hey. Back to the Night's Watch. Which kind of fast forwarding. John even asked him, is there even a Night's Watch? And I had asked Blythe as we're watching, at the end of the scene, the whole episode, John riding off. I was kind of trying to figure out, well, is he escorting the wildlings into the deeper north, or is he going to join them? I mean, there is a point. I mean, there is no... It didn't seem like there was much of a Night's Watch.
Well, I know that Tormund in one of the past last few episodes he said that he was like, oh, I guess we're the Night's Watch now, made that comment. So I don't know that they don't technically need the Night's Watch anymore, but I think that's just where Jon and Tormund and all the wildlings, that's where they feel like they belong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So Jon is back to square one. He's going to go back to the Night's Watch. We also get that.
Finally acknowledge his ghost.
Yes. All the pets.
Yeah.
Man.
Finally.
Someone sew his ear back. Find his ear. Sew that on. That threw me off. We also get another scene. Ed, they missed the last shot they had for a sweet Jon Snow and Grey Worm fight because we get to see Jon Snow being escorted by the Night's Watch. I thought Grey Worm
back.
I thought Grey Worm was
going to do something. Squirrel outfit, like a bunch of squirrel pelts and stuff. Cape.
But how cool is it that Grey Worm gets to go back to Noth? One more time for Missandei, inspired by
threw
Missandei.
A spear at him.
I thought something was going to happen, but I was like, you know what? At this point, I just don't see it happening.
That was that entire following that little sort of stare off between the two of them. Following that scene is just so eerily similar to Lord of the Rings when Frodo is saying goodbye. And he's saying goodbye to each of his friends, and that his goodbye seriously with Arya that was probably the only scene that really made me tear up during the whole thing.
Let's see. We also he passes Grey Worm. He also this is also a scene where he says, I think what Blake was just talking about. He says goodbye to Sansa, Arya, and Bran. I mean, any thoughts on his goodbyes to his family? Ashley, what about you? Did you feel anything? Notice anything we might have missed?
I mean, just with Arya, because they've always had that special bond. But yeah, I have to agree. There were really no tears in this episode, especially not compared to the last one. This one, I was kind of, I was a little sad. I was like, all right, well, she's like, I'm never going to see you again. I'm going far, far away. But it was just sweet. Everyone else, it was, just the normal. I feel like they didn't really have that connection.
Ed, what about you?
As far as like the last meeting, the last goodbyes.
Yeah, to his sisters.
Or I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm just. I did like. I don't know if it's right after this, but the montage of like where Sansa's getting the
cool
gown,
shot.
and it's like the overhead shots. They're walking down the hallways and stuff. I thought that was a really nice montage.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that scene was okay. It's interesting. It's like I kind of like to see what Arya, if they do like a spin-off, that'd be kind of cool.
They should have included Bran in that. I think that would have kind of helped me get excited about a kingdom ruled by Bran. Why did they leave him? I mean, he's a Stark. I mean, his story's just as epic. I think he should have deserved to kind of be.
Have like Podrick pushing him down the hallway.
Sir Podrick. Sir Podrick.
Put some respect on his name, Ed. Sir Pod.
Sir Podrick.
I don't want to glance over the that shot with oh man, I'm sorry, Brienne writing in Jaime's story.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty bittersweet.
That was great.
Yeah.
He died saving his queen, and she she got a little dusty eyed.
Oh.
But that was tough to write.
Is it interesting to anyone that Jon Snow goes back to square one in a sense? He goes back to the Night's Watch, and Tyrion kind of ends up sort of in the same position that we were introduced to his father as, where his father, or Tywin, was the hand of the king to a reluctant king, Robert Baratheon. I thought it was kind of a weird, full circle effect that I just kind of had to take note.
Yeah.
And it was almost kind of like a bittersweet punishment for them. I mean, it was like, Jon, hey, look, you've got to go to Night's Watch. You can't be with your family. And Jon's like, well, I guess I got to accept it. And that's kind of what Jon always kind of wanted. Was just to be away from everything. I think the happiest we've ever seen Jon was when he was in the north and with the wildlings, and when he met
Ygritte.
Ygritte as well. Yeah, and just kind of learning what that sense of freedom was. So I mean, he kind of got a weird, bittersweet reward. And then Tyrion, as much as he doesn't like to be the king, it's better than dying. So I guess
Hand of the king, I guess.
Yeah.
But even Bran said this is kind of like his sentence is to kind of right all of his bad decisions, being the hand of the king.
I will say that might be the best small council group I could think of. I mean, just having Sam on the team is
Archmaester Sam.
Sorry, let me put some respect on that name. Archmaester Sam. Sir Davos is the master of the ships. Bronn is the master of coin, which was pretty awesome. I wasn't sure.
And Lord of the Reach too.
Yeah, Lord of the Reach, King of, or I guess Lord of Highgarden as well.
Yeah.
He kind of really, really came up.
Oh yeah,
really came up. Damn, all it took was a punch Tyrion in the face.
Hasn't he been around since season 1? I think. Bronn.
I think so.
Yeah, because I mean, he did save Catelyn Stark and him.
Well,
right?
We first see him when he saves
Tyrion.
Tyrion.
Right?
Tyrion,
Yeah. Maybe that was season 2. Might have been season 2.
Probably season 2. So okay, Brienne is the what is she? The captain of the Kingsguard.
Yes.
So captain of Kingsguard and rocking the gold too. I thought that was kind of cool way to
Podrick too.
Yeah. And I mean, just because we're introduced to Jaime in all gold armor as well, and to see Brienne kind of carry on that torch was
I was surprised that she didn't stay with Sansa.
Yeah.
I thought that she just would have stayed with her.
Yeah, that was actually that's kind of weird. Well, I guess maybe her duty to Sansa was done, but she did
probably. Bran needs more help.
Nah, you got Sir Padre. You good? Like, and that was pretty much it. I mean, the episode wraps up with Jon giving us a look, or riding into the forest with the wildlings, and wrapped up from there.
That kind of if you think
So
about
where are they going exactly? Are they? It's like a bunch of kids and stuff. Where are they going exactly?
I guess if they have old or villages still intact, I guess, or something.
Yeah, they have a lot of villages in the north that they could probably set up at. But
Okay.
I know that Tormund has always said that even where the Night's Watch is located, it's not the real north, and he always wanted to go back to the real north.
Okay.
That sounds really cool. I'm good.
But
Look
let
too
me,
happy.
real quick, because I've always wondered this entire season why Bran was constantly staring at Tyrion. I think now we finally have the answer. Like, he was just waiting for Tyrion to take that step as far as knowing what's right and knowing what's wrong. And now he's put into a position of power, but he's earned it. And it's not for selfish reasons.
He's
just a creep.
But no, they made it a point to show Bran staring at Tyrion several times during this season.
Well, now all I can imagine,
That's true.
I think every time we rewatch those scenes, all I'm going to picture is Bran thinking.
Well, they did have that little talk, but we never really
true.
heard what they discussed.
So that means Bran was just staring at Tyrion throughout those episodes and seasons, thinking, "Pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. You better fucking pick me." All right, so that was the end of that episode. Any comments or questions, or comments that you guys want to add before we pick our MVPs? Ashley, how about you kick us off, man? Was there any additional comments, gripes, anything you want to highlight or champion before you pick your MVP?
I can't think of anything that we haven't already gone over. I think it's one of those things where I'm gonna need to process this a little bit because it's just the end of such a huge thing.
Yeah. Probably, definitely. Have you been rewatching these episodes as much as maybe some of the previous seasons?
Definitely. Well, usually I'll watch the one before, right before I watch the new one. And this one, I've seen all of these episodes at least 3 times.
Okay, cool. And Ashley, before I move on, because you missed last week's episode, being on vacation and such, we didn't get to hear your thoughts on Clegane Bowl, even though I think last episode we all were talking on like your behalf and just thinking about you. I definitely didn't want to. I think I sent you that one text, Clegane Bowl, and that was it. I didn't even want to think about you watching it.
Yeah, I had to know.
Yeah.
I couldn't enjoy the beach unless I knew what I was in for.
Wow.
Yeah, because I had
so
to watch
hard.
it.
What suffering?
I had to watch it 6 hours after you guys.
Oh,
I
God.
couldn't enjoy Paradise as much. Man.
But yeah, no, it was like the more I thought about it, the more I was okay with it. But I was just so, as soon as she said Sandor, like I got like goosebumps. And then the whole fight scene was awesome with like the dragon going overhead. And then as soon as they both fell into the fire, I like immediately turned and I was like, do you think he's still alive? I was like, do you think there's any chance he made it? And everybody was like, no. Well, still in this episode, I was like, maybe they'll find him like under a bunch of rubble and he'll just be like, hey, go get me a doctor. But
Go get me a doctor. I feel like he'd probably say, hey, you bloody cunts.
Where's the wine?
Yeah, where's the wine? That is funny. Go get me a doctor. Oh, man.
just what if you saw him like on the boat with
way.
Arya?
Look,
Well, yeah, but you don't know what he fell on.
He fell on.
what do you feel? Like a bunch of like a mattress shop, like a King's Landing mattress shop. Ed,
Hello Factory. What's he landing in?
Thank you, Ashley. Ed, any last minute comments or anything you want to add?
I think at the end they were going to actually add lyrics to the Game of Thrones theme. When they had like the little vocal parts coming in, like the
That would have been crazy as shit. I wonder what the lyrics would have been.
incest and some boobs and a lot of killing, Game of Thrones. Just to like F you to all the people hating the season. Just add some lyrics.
I'd probably cry. Okay, Blythe, last anything you want to add before you pick your MVP?
No, I think we kind of just said everything that I wanted to say so far.
Actually, I wanted to hear, because you had some good thoughts about like what would they have been able to do. You know, they're kind of painted. The writers are painted in the corner We were kind of talking about this.
Oh, they're gonna get roasted. I feel like for this finale, they've been roasted all season. And...
No matter what, this is like a no-win since the books weren't finished.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a no-win situation. I mean, it never would have lived up to the hype, no matter, I don't think, what they did.
I remember seeing a couple days after last week's episode that somebody started putting around a petition to get the entire season 8 reshot. And I'm like, have you guys lost your fucking minds? Like, this is absolutely ridiculous that you think that a TV show owes you something. And I just, knowing like the nuance of like writing and creative work and just the amount of energy that goes into this kind of production, it's mentally exhausting. And I feel like these guys have been over it for a while, and they're trying to adapt something that was never meant to be adapted to a television show. That's what George R. R. Martin has said. And with the season ending, or the books ending at what, like season 4 or season 5, that they've been going off essentially cliff notes, and George R. R. Martin has taken 8 years to even attempt to finish these stories, and just the overwhelming criticism. I could not imagine being in Dan and Dave's shoes right now, trying to wrap up arguably the greatest television show of all time with all the entirety of social media and just people feeding off each other's negativity. Like, just fucking enjoy it. Like,
you know, the good thing though, this will toughen their skin up for when they do the Star Wars movies.
I'm ready for them to do Star Wars. I think that I think that they're ready too.
That fan base is even crazier.
Yes, they are even crazier, and I feel bad for them from like a creative standpoint, but they're just ready to move on, and knowing that, and knowing we have limited source materials, and knowing we only had 6 episodes this season, I think they did a phenomenal job.
So they're going to something that has like about 8 or 9 years but going to a franchise that's 40 years of mythos to deal with. Oh man,
it's going to be challenging. I commend them for staying off social media, because that's probably the best thing for everybody involved.
I'll say this: if whatever Star Wars project they're working on is even a fraction as good as what they've done with Game of Thrones, I'm in for it.
It's like a movie every week.
I mean, this whole I was telling Blythe, it's crazy that a year ago, I think it was just a year ago, I was just getting into Game of Thrones, so. It was crazy for me to be sitting here
with a seance next to you.
Yeah, she lit up 3 fucking like Dragonstone candles. So it's like, I'm like
Game of Thrones Oreos and wine.
She really
and
went all out for it.
Goblets.
It's crazy for me to be sitting here and getting to be a part of TV history. Like it almost feels like I cheated the system, but at the same time, like I still feel like a part of it. Like, man. I know I haven't waited nearly as long as someone who's been watching it since season 1, episode 1. Not at all.
Yeah. To be fair, I didn't really jump on board till maybe season 4.
I don't know too many people that have watched it since episode 1, season 1. Ashley, are you one of the few?
Yeah.
No, I watched the first 3 seasons on DVD that I borrowed from someone, and then I jumped in on season 4.
So when I think about it like that, it's like, well, I ain't got really no room to like be upset. I mean, I kind of jumped ahead, like I'm not, like season 1, episode 1 person over there that's been dedicated as long. Like I have no room to be mad. Like I'm just jumping on here just a year ago, and in some way my opinion should be as valid or as impactful as someone who's lived or read the books, started watching it. I guess I got to look at it like, you know what, it is just a show, and I'm not as invested as I think I am.
I think you get into trouble anytime you tell somebody else how to fan, and this goes for a variety of aspects. If you enjoyed it, if you enjoyed your experience, and you find yourself looking up YouTube videos and reading theories, like I think that's what speaks to this overall episode, is that you're sad that it's over, that you're not going to be happy, you're not going to get this big impactful event. It's sad that it's ending, that a show that you've devoted even a small amount of time is ending is sad.
That's well said.
Yeah. And it's rare that a series ends where everyone's happy with it. It's very uncommon, especially in television and stuff.
I'll say this: I won't miss staying up until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock to edit an episode
until next year when the prequels come out.
I guess so, and we'll definitely do it for then. But let's go ahead and give our MVPs, and then we'll wrap up. Ashley, who was your MVP this episode?
Wait. Episode MVP or like whole series MVP?
How about we do episode episode MVP this week because we still got technically more Game of Thrones next week. They're doing that recap. I would like us to record on that one and kind of talk about the season as a whole. I'm sure
it's not over for us.
I'm sure a few of us will be watching some, if not the whole season again, maybe some key episodes. But let's just do episode MVPs this go, and then next week we'll do series.
Okay.
So Ashley, MVP for this episode?
I'm gonna have to give it to John for this one, just because he really he did sacrifice a lot. I think he was so sad at Castle Black, just because he, both of the women that he has loved have both like died in his arms, and he had to kill Daenerys, and he is going to have to carry that burden with him for the rest of his life for the good of his family and the good of the realm. So I'm going to give that to John.
Okay. Ed, what about you?
I think Tyrion gets MVP for the episode for me.
Okay.
Because he set everything in motion, and he basically came out with the solution to this whole series at the end. So he's my choice.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to echo Tyrion just because of the way that his character has evolved over the seasons, and then to see what's evolved this season, and to know that he's going to make the right decision no matter what. I think that was sort of like the final test for him, especially from Bran's perspective, because Tyrion kind of is the true king now, and he's the one that's delegating everything and in charge of everything. And I think that sort of was signified when Bran came in for like a hot second, and then Podrick takes him out of the room. That is really Tyrion and his group of advisors that are ruling Westeros. So I think Tyrion's got to get it.
Okay. And you guys have said everything I wanted to say about Tyrion, so I'll just chime in and say Tyrion. So I think Tyrion wins this episode. And if I'm looking at our top 5 survivors list that we made, I think back in episode 2, we had a 3-way tie. So myself, Blythe, and Ed, we're tied because we each only had one character die.
Wait,
so,
who was your...
So Dany died, and she was on my top 5. So I got knocked down to 4. I had Tyrion, Sansa, Sam, and Tyrion, Arya, Samwell, and Sansa making it out. So they did. Dany died on mine. Blythe, Hound died. So you were left with Sansa, Tyrion, Sam, and Podrick.
Sir Podrick.
And then Ed, Varys died. So it left you with Sam, Jon, Bronn, and Arya. And Ashley, you had 2 deaths. So,
it's funny. If I had to pick one to live, I would have picked Varys.
Yeah,
I really would have.
So
really
Varys
thought he was going to make it.
Yeah. So Varys Hound died on your list, but you were left with Tyrion, Sansa, and Arya. So, yeah, man. So, like I said, we'll go ahead and be back for one more episode next week. We'll do kind of a series recap and kind of talk about the series holistically. I do want to say that if you want more bonus Game of Thrones content, we do have 3 exclusive episodes up on our Patreon page. We got an interview with the actors that played Jaqen, the Night King, and Ross from the Night's Watch, respectively. So that's on our Patreon page. So if you follow us on social media, whether that's Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, at the Shortbox Jacks, our Patreon link is in our bios. Just click that, and you can take a look at our tiers and see how you can get a hold of those bonus episodes. Blythe, if you want any shameless plugs, anything you want to add?
Shameless plugs, just typically go to my social media channels at Blythebrum, BLYTHEBRUM, mostly active on Twitter, where you can see me, fighting the Game of Thrones book nerds.
Ed?
Just Edbot5000, Instagram, everywhere.
Word. And Ashley?
So if you go to ashleylaney.com, I have a link to buy Hound is My Homeboy stickers.
Oh, those are so good.
And after last week's episode, the orders just started rolling in, and I was like,
nice.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Those stickers are badass,
cease
too.
and desist come in. I got it on my Night King. Print.
Ah, damn.
Oh, really? That's
cease and desist. Yeah.
Damn.
It's like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Frame that.
Framed.
Hey, frame it, yeah. All right, folks, and one more time, like I said, if you aren't following us on your favorite podcast app, just search the Shortbox Podcast, hit that subscribe button. We're all over social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, etc., at the Shortbox Jacks, as well as our bonus stuff on Patreon. That being said, I do want to say thank you guys so much for sticking with us this whole season, and for this kind of fun experiment. It's kind of cool that we stuck to putting out an episode every week, regardless of how late it's gotten. I do want to say thank you so much, Ed and Ashley and Blythe, so much for being awesome co-hosts on this series. And like I said, we got one more episode next week, so if you got an opinion that you want to share or have your voice heard in that next episode, shoot us an email at theshortboxjacks@gmail.com or send us a message on one of our social media pages or even a voicemail. We have a Google number at 904-580-4095. If you leave a voicemail, we'll play it, all right? We'll catch you guys next week. Have a good night. Peace.